You know what you should be doing right now. You have the list. You have the plan. You know the next step. It is right there. And you just cannot make yourself start. So you pick up your phone, not because you want to, not because there is anything you need to see. You pick it up because the silence is unbearable. Because sitting with nothing, even for 30 seconds, feels like drowning. And you scroll, and you scroll, and 20 minutes later, you put the phone down, and you feel worse, emptier than before. And you think, what is wrong with me? Why am I so lazy? You are not lazy, and there is nothing wrong with you. Your brain is overstimulated, and that is a very different problem with a very different solution. A neuroscientist at the University of Michigan named Kent Berridge spent 30 years studying dopamine, and he discovered something that changes everything most people believe about motivation. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical. It is the wanting chemical. It is not the feeling you get when you eat the meal. It is the feeling that makes you get up and go cook it. Not the satisfaction of finishing the project. The drive that makes you open the laptop and begin. Dopamine is pursuit. It is motivation. It is the engine that turns intention into action. So when you drain that system, when you flood it with easy hits hundreds of times a day, you are not draining your ability to feel good. You are draining your ability to want anything. That is why you can lie there, knowing exactly what you should do, knowing it would feel meaningful, knowing you would be proud of yourself, and you just cannot generate the wanting. You are not lazy. Your wanting system is empty. Dr. Anna Lembke runs the addiction clinic at Stanford. Not for heroin, not for alcohol, for people who cannot stop checking their phones. She describes the brain like a seesaw. Every hit of pleasure triggers an equal and opposite crash into pain. Do it enough times, and the seesaw gets stuck. Not in the middle, on the pain side. That is the person lying in bed at 11 p.m., scrolling, not enjoying any of it, but unable to stop. Their brain is not broken. It is trying to find a baseline that does not exist anymore. And here is what makes this worse than it sounds. Gloria Mark, a professor at UC Irvine, tracked how long people stay on one screen before switching. In 2004, it was 2.5 minutes. By 2020, 47 seconds. You did not lose your attention span. You gave it away. 47 seconds at a time. Now, you have probably heard that humans have a shorter attention span than a goldfish. 8 seconds. It has been in every TED Talk, every LinkedIn post, every productivity article. There is just one problem. It is completely made up. A BBC journalist named Simon Mabon tried to trace the original study. He called the National Library of Medicine, the supposed source. They said, "We never published that." He called the researchers. Nobody had done the study. Nobody had measured goldfish attention either. The most viral statistic about attention spans was a statistic nobody paid attention long enough to fact check. But the real number is almost worse. Gloria Mark found that after you check your phone, even for 10 seconds, it takes your brain 23 minutes to fully return to what you were doing. Not because you are weak, because your brain leaves a piece of itself on that notification. A researcher named Sophie Leroy called it attention residue. Every time you switch, you leave a ghost behind. So if you check your phone 96 times a day, which is the average, you are never once operating at full capacity. Not once. The entire day. You are running your brain at 60% and wondering why everything feels so hard. But here is where it gets interesting. Because a psychologist named Sandi Mann at the University of Central Lancashire ran an experiment that should terrify anyone with a smartphone. She made one group copy phone numbers from a directory, the most boring task she could think of. Then she tested everyone's creativity. The bored group crushed it. More ideas, stranger ideas, better ideas. But here is what got her. When she made the next group do something even more boring, just reading the numbers, not even writing them, they were even more creative. Boredom was not hurting their brains. It was giving their brains space to work. And in 2001, a neuroscientist named Marcus Raichle made an accidental discovery that explains why. He was scanning people's brains and noticed something strange. When they were doing nothing, just lying there, staring at the ceiling, a huge network of brain regions lit up. Not dimmed, lit up. He called it the default mode network. And it turns out it is where your brain does its most important work. Planning your future, understanding yourself, connecting distant ideas, creating, making meaning. It only activates when you are bored, when you are unstimulated, when there is nothing to react to. Every time you pull out your phone in an elevator, in a line, on the toilet, you are shutting down the only system in your brain that can figure out what your life actually means. And now I want to tell you something that will sound strange at first. Everything I have just described, the dopamine seesaw, the wanting system, the attention fragments, the default mode network that only works in silence. A teacher described all of this 2,500 years ago, without a brain scanner, without a lab. The Buddha called it guarding the sense doors. He said your eyes, your ears, your tongue, your body, your mind, they are like 6 wild animals tied to the same post. A snake, a crocodile, a bird, a dog, a fox, and a monkey. Each one wants to go to its own feeding ground. Without the post, they drag you everywhere. With the post, they eventually settle. The post is awareness. The feeding ground is whatever your senses are chasing. The dragging is what we now call scrolling. In the Satipatthana Sutta, one of the oldest meditation texts in existence, the Buddha describes what happens at the exact moment a stimulus contacts one of your senses. You see something, you hear something, your phone buzzes. And in that instant, before you have even consciously processed what happened, a chain begins to form. Contact, feeling, craving, grasping, becoming. It takes less than a second, and by the time you are aware of it, you are already scrolling. But here's what the Buddha said next, and this is the part that matters. He did not say destroy the senses. He tried that. He starved himself for 6 years and nearly died. it did not work. He did not say, indulge the senses freely. He tried that too. He was a prince with unlimited everything. That also did not work. He said, watch the chain form, in real time, at the sense door, before craving takes over. That is the practice. Not suppression, not indulgence, awareness. Anna Lembke calls it self-binding. Cal Newport calls it digital minimalism. The Buddha just called it not being dragged. So what does this actually look like? It is smaller than you think. The next time you reach for your phone, not because you need something, but because the silence got uncomfortable, pause. Not for an hour, not for a day, for 3 seconds. And in those 3 seconds, notice something. Notice the pull. Not the phone, the pull. The physical sensation. The restlessness in your chest. The itch in your fingers. The urgency that says, something might be happening. You are missing it. Check now. That pull, that is the craving the Buddha was pointing at. That is the chain forming at the sense door. That is the second link, feeling becoming craving. And it happens so fast you have never seen it before. But when you pause for 3 seconds, you see it. And once you see it, you have a choice. You can still pick up the phone. Nobody is taking it away. But now you are choosing, not being dragged. Kent Berridge's wanting system, Anna Lembke's seesaw, the Buddha's 6 animals. 3 different languages for the same truth. Your brain is being pulled in 6 directions at once. And the only thing that settles it is the post. The post is awareness, and you can drive it into the ground anytime you want. Here is what I am not going to tell you. I am not going to tell you to throw your phone in the ocean. I am not going to tell you to do a 30-day dopamine detox. I am not going to tell you to delete Instagram. The Buddha tried extreme renunciation. He nearly died. Then he tried the opposite, unlimited pleasure. That did not work either. What he found was a middle path. Use the phone, but use it the way you hold a bird, in open hands, with intention, not gripping, not being gripped. And when you catch yourself reaching, not for information, not for connection, but for escape from the silence, that moment of catching is the practice. That is the post. That is indriya-samvara. That is 2,500 years of wisdom in 3 seconds of awareness. Lembke found that her patients, after 30 days of reduced stimulation, said the same thing. I did not realize how numb I was. Not because the world changed, because the noise finally got quiet enough to hear it. And here is the beautiful part, the part the research confirms and the Buddha promised. When you stop filling every empty moment with stimulation, something begins to grow in the silence. Marcus Raichel's default mode network activates. The system that plans your future, connects your ideas, understands who you are. It comes back online. Sandi Mann's boredom research showed that creativity explodes in the space where you stop scrolling. Stillness is not boring. Your brain just forgot what it feels like. You are not lazy. You never were. You are overstimulated. And the cure is not more willpower, more discipline, more productivity hacks. The cure is less noise, and the courage to sit in the quiet that remains. The Buddha sat under a tree and did nothing for a very long time, and in that nothing, he found everything. You do not need a tree, you just need 3 seconds. Reach for the phone. Pause. Notice the pull. That is the whole practice. If this resonated with you, the Buddha Therapy Journal was made for exactly these moments. A space to sit with your thoughts instead of scrolling past them. Handcrafted pages, mindfulness prompts, a place where the silence has room to speak. buddhatherapy.shop. Link in the description. The music in this video is original Buddha Therapy meditation music, available on all streaming platforms. If you want to keep walking with this, there is a new teaching every week. Subscribe. And the next time the silence gets uncomfortable, stay. Just for 3 seconds. See what happens. Thank you for sitting with me. Sit with it.